Hey everyone, thanks for joining us today. Oh my God, we have got a jam-packed session today, Trisha and I have. So if today you're working in Dubai or you're looking to secure and land your next dream job in Dubai, and you're wondering what are the sort of kind of do's and don'ts when it comes to the contract. So you've gone through that process and now you're like, right, they've put a contract, they've put an offer on the table. What should I do? What are the pitfalls that you should avoid? That's exactly what we're going to be covering today. So make sure you stay tuned throughout the show. And as an added bonus, we've got a phenomenal announcement to be made, some exclusive news that's just been released by the UAE government, okay? And we're going to be sharing that with you right at the end. So make sure you stay tuned. My name is Meet Severe. For those of you that don't know me, I'm a registered career coach and I work with ambitious, driven professionals just like you are watching the show right now to help you stop struggling and start thriving. And I also have a program where I help career coaches develop even more powerful coaching programs for their clients. And as always, I'm joined by my wonderful co-host, Trisha Chapman. Trisha, hello.
Hello, good morning, good evening, wherever you are. Welcome, Trisha Chapman, the managing partner of Impressive CV, where we focus on all of the necessary tools for a successful job application. And I'm sorry, I know I just cut you off. I am really well.
I love it. I love the fact that we have this sort of ease between us that we can. I mean, all I was going to say was, Trisha, how has Ramadan been going? I know that you're not currently in Dubai right now, so you're not kind of able to absorb. I just wanted to know, how is that going before we dive into looking at all things contracts and the do's and the don'ts?
Yes, honestly, it's going really well. I think I'm based in Australia at the minute, just while I've got my little one with me, which is a really nice experience. I'll head back to the UAE in a few weeks probably. But as always, just practicing the gratitude and gratefulness.
Fabulous. And we're going to be talking about mindset as well, aren't we? So I'm glad, Trisha, that you've sort of talked about that, because so often, when you've been through this whole process, and let's be honest, okay, this recruitment process can be brutal. To finally get to a position. So we're talking to you right now. So perhaps you have been job hunting. Perhaps you decided that the dream was to come to the UAE and you've now landed an offer. Or perhaps maybe you've got multiple offers. Maybe you're in this fortunate position where you have multiple offers. And so deciding now which is the right offer for you, and sort of the mindset goes hand in hand with that. And all too often now, I'm really appreciative, by the way, for those of you that are following us right now, please continue to do so. Hit subscribe and like button. And if you're enjoying what you're getting, by the way, we're loving the comments and the private DMs that we're getting on our LinkedIn. You guys are blowing it up for us. We really appreciate it. Keep showing us that love. If you have questions about today's show or any of the previous shows that we've done so far, drop a comment in the section, let us know, or come and join us on our LinkedIn profiles and, connect with us, ask us those questions. This is one of the reasons why Trisha and I started this show. And so I want to talk a little bit about mindset before we jump into the contract and how that fits in. Trisha, I'm going to come to you first. What's one of the most sort of common mistakes that you see candidates making, professional job hunters making, when it comes to sort of the mindset that they have around contracts?
Yeah, I guess at the end of the day, a lot of job seekers are, I often use the word desperate, but it's probably not the right word because it probably comes with a negative connotation. But, there's quite a sense of urgency to get a job. And then they would accept something that perhaps is not something that they're really, best suited for, or the contract actually doesn't really, or the offer letter doesn't actually meet the requirements of their, their everyday needs. So just sort of rushing in to sign it to just get something on the table.
Yeah. And I've seen that so many times as well, but you're just so elated, aren't you, finally, especially if you've been ghosted, especially if you've been rejected multiple times, especially if you've experienced sort of kind of anxiety, overwhelm during that whole recruitment process. It can be so easy to sort of kind of, and tempting, that when that first offer comes in, kind of go, oh my God, okay, yes, finally. And you don't look at the sort of kind of fine print. And I know we're going to be sort of kind of deconstructing an offer letter, and you're going to be giving us an example, so stay tuned to that, everybody, because Trisha's going to walk us through sort of a typical contract offer letter from the UAE region, so that you can see exactly and sort of kind of things to look out for and things to avoid. In terms of sort of the mindset, I would always say, take a minute, ask the employer or organization that's giving you the offer, say to them, okay, how long do I have to sort of kind of consider this? Or perhaps, or alternatively, you can suggest a timeline to say, thank you so much for the offer. I'd like 24 hours, 48 hours, 72 hours, however long you feel that you need. And then take some time to sort of kind of step away, so that you can do what we're going to be doing today. And we're going to be showing you step by step all of the different things. And so giving yourself, that's really key in terms of the mindset. And I think also as well, something that people don't think about, like I've met so many job hunters who during the sort of kind of recruitment process don't eat well, don't sleep well. And that has a direct impact on sort of your negative cognitive performance, because if you're not rested, and it seems very timely to be talking about it in the month of Ramadan, where all of us, for at least those of us, no, Tricia, it's okay. Keep sipping your coffee, honey. I saw that. She was like, oh. Right? But for those of us that, that are finding, I don't know about anybody else, but I get hungry. I know myself. So there's things that I have to do to be able to make sure that I'm putting myself back into peak performance, that I'm making judgments and informed decisions. And so, once you've sort of kind of rested well, you've taken time to sort of kind of step away, Tricia, let's dive in and let's take a look at that example contract that you've got for us.
Absolutely, absolutely. So at the end of the day, it's quite basic. I think a lot of people think that things are maybe a lot more detailed or bigger than what they actually are. So this is a real life example. This is an offer letter from one of my clients to a front house receptionist role. So I guess I will just I will walk you through it. So your employment will be based on the terms and conditions outlined in the employment contract, which includes the following entitlements. So it'll always give you the start date. It'll give you the office hours. Now, as you can see, Monday to Friday is now specified according to the new UAE labor law. This is something that you should definitely be cautious of. Core office hours. Now, organizations implement this terminology so that then if you work outside of these hours, actually they're not in trouble because they have mentioned core office hours. So you could be requested to work outside of those hours. It's just that that's how the employer has got away with, outside of those. So just really be cautious, make sure that you're aware that you might be requested to be working outside of this. And the employer does have the right because they have stated core office hours. So the probation period, again, so this is in line with the UAE labor law that it is 6-month probation, and it specifically states notice period. So if you want to exit this contract, you have to give 1 month notice. Now, it's important. Some organizations might give 3 months notice period. So that's super important because if you break that and you leave within, you might be subject to be paying the difference of that contract and the notice period. Okay.
And Tricia, could I just ask, okay, because obviously we talked about it in the last show, didn't we, about the sort of kind of new labor laws. So by the way, if you missed that show, go back, catch the previous episode. We go into a lot more detail about sort of the latest changes since sort of the pandemic and what the UAE is now doing to attract, sort of kind of foreign talent. Now, what's the sort of kind of, and this is just for anybody else, like, is it 1 month a typical sort of kind of notice period? Is it ever shorter? Is it sort of?
Yeah, so 1 month is pretty standard. Most organizations will give 1 month, allowance for that. However, as you move up the ladder, you go into perhaps a more specialized role that's a little bit more difficult to fill, perhaps, maybe something in, say, a specific laboratory or crime investigation, something that's, not outside of the ordinary, or you're at that director level, then it could be, and I've seen it, that the notice period is 3 months. And that just means that the employer has enough time to fill for that talent.
Got it. Makes sense. Cool. Okay. And then I can see there's medical, flight, salary sort of underneath. So yeah, talk us through those points,
exactly. Tricia. Yeah. So this is something that people probably don't do a lot of research. They'll just sign the contract, but it is important to understand what medical insurance have you being provided. Why? Because you're often left out of pocket, unfortunately, if you are not covered for something that is you receive the treatment and it's not covered in your medical insurance, and you will have to pay the difference. So it is important that you do understand what this actually means.
Okay. And Tricia, can I ask, okay, so like, so I'm from the UK, that's where I was born and raised, and we had what was known, what is known there as the National Health Service, which is essentially sort of kind of private, so if I, any health issues, okay, I can get access to health, sort of support. But what's it like in UAE for those people who aren't yet quite there, or maybe you are in Dubai right now, but you never had to access the healthcare service? What does the healthcare service look like? Because obviously every country has a different concept. So what does it look like in the UAE, Tricia?
I would definitely love to do a deep dive call just focused on this, but in a nutshell and in summary. So it's a business model, right? Healthcare is a business model over there. It's over here, or wherever we are. But it covers, for example, surgery, or oncology, or whether you are selected to be or able to attend certain hospitals. So the Silver Med might only allow you to say 5 or 6 hospitals within that umbrella. Whereas if you've got gold, you might be able to attend all of these listed hospitals. So you're allocated to which hospital is covered under this insurance. And then, of course, the injuries or the medical conditions, what you're suffering or going through is what's covered. So, for example, perhaps cancer, oncology, you might need some stem cell treatment. Now, that might not be covered within the silver plan, versus if you just purely need some checkups with your x-rays and your scans of perhaps advancements of tumor, etc. So depending on the degree of this and the severity of the illness, will depend on how much the insurance covers and at what hospital you can have this treatment at.
Got it. And do you know what, Tricia? I agree with you. Now, if you're listening and watching to this, and I can appreciate that, do you know what? This isn't the stuff that you want to be talking about. It's definitely not the things that you want to be thinking about when you've got a job offer, right? Because you're just excited and elated and you just want to kind of get out there and, you just want to get yourself to Dubai, or if you've already in Dubai, you want to move on to your next role. And so that's not something that you want to think, that's not something that you want to think about. What I would say is that if this is the stuff that maybe perhaps you've been caught up on previously, maybe you took a job offer, let us know in the comment section. But also as well, Tricia mentioned, we can do a deep dive on this for a whole show and go into more detail about the, the sort of kind of pros and cons. If that's something that's exciting you, let us know in the comments, let us know in the comments, and then we can make sure that the next show, because remember, these shows that Tricia and I are creating, we want them to be interactive. We want that engagement. We want to provide value. We want to help you stop struggling and start thriving with your job hunting and land your dream job.
Absolutely.
Hearing they do in Dubai.
Absolutely. And I think just in closing, because sometimes you might have a chronic health condition, and that's fine. But if you've got that chronic health condition and you don't want it to be a reason that you're not moving to Dubai, you want to make sure that the medical insurance does cover you for that. So, or a disability, and the UAE is certainly open now to disabilities. A lot of services available. Malls now, for example, have got all the access. There's lots of car parks, so it shouldn't be a reason for you not to get a job in Dubai.
And I love that. And then, my brain's already going like, thinking family cover, like, do these policies cover, members of your family if you have a spouse or a partner or children, right? I mean, there's so much we could talk about this, but I'm just so keen that I want to dive in and do the contract today. So if this is catching your attention, if this is spiking your interest, and if you're maybe sitting there and thinking, but I've got a family, I'm going to bring them over, will they be covered? All of this we can cover in a show later date if you demand it from us. So I'm seeing here there's things like flight, salary, bonus, IT. What are all of those things, and what do they mean, and what should people be looking out for, Tricia?
Yeah, perfect. So most companies, organizations will give you a flight to your return of your home country. That is pretty standard. I have a feeling this might change in the next few years. I could be wrong, but I think that this might be something that will be faded out. But anyway, let's keep an eye on that. So bonus, that's certainly something that is quite normal, especially if you're within a sales role, business development, marketing, etc. I guess it's always important to have a call or a meeting with your direct line manager after your probation period to say, what is a bonus based on performance? Because that's obviously it can be a subjective approach. So what is the performance? It's not very measurable, that term. So And obviously, if you want to have a nice bonus at the end of the year, it's something that you're deserving. You want to make sure that you know exactly what KPIs you need to be meeting to be able to get that bonus. So make sure that you book a meeting with your line manager or HR team to discuss this point further. Again, it's very common for the IT sector, you know, having your phone and laptop, your mobile covered. Pretty standard, to be very honest. Perhaps if you're in a labor position, I can understand that, you know, that might not be the case. And this is probably one of the most important aspects of it, is the components. So the basic salary is made up of, it's split, sorry. So you've got basic salary and then all other allowances. So the other allowances what includes, for example, your transport allowance, your home allowance, you know, the accommodation allowance. And when you're negotiating your bonus salary, most, or generally all organizations will be negotiating your performance, your bonus, off your base salary. So if you're ever negotiating, you want to be ensuring that you are pushing this figure up, not the total package, because then your bonus won't be as big as what it would be off this. Okay.
Got it. Okay. Yeah.
So I just want to make one final comment on this. Some organizations will give this other allowances in one lump sum. So rather than paying it monthly, you could have it given, for example, as 12,000 or 20,000 dirham in one lump sum, and you then go and negotiate and work your way for your accommodation allowance. So it's paid in one check. Some organizations in this you know, offer letter, it's per month.
Okay. Got it. Now, looking at this, okay, the offer of employment, I mean, it looks pretty easy to follow. There are a few things that I like that you kind of highlighted for us, you know, the sort of kind of language that they're using. I like it's pretty simple, you know, especially because for so many people, English won't be their first language as well. So I like the fact that, you know, and I'm assuming that, you know, contracts, you know, you've shown us an example in English. I'm guessing that typically speaking, that contracts are done in English. Is that fair assumption?
So you need, the big 4-page one has to be in Arabic. You must be given a full Arabic offer letter with the law, contract law, then as well as converted in English. So you must have a full Arabic version given to you, which again, that's standard. So when it's emailed to you, you'll have it in both languages.
Both languages. Excellent. Okay, that's really good, really useful to know that you're going to get. So don't be overwhelmed, viewers, if you get a contract and it's all in Arabic. You're like going, but I don't read Arabic.
Yes.
Okay, it's love that. Now, Trisha, we did promise that we're going to give a bonus about an exclusive sort of kind of piece of news that we've that's just been released today. But before we move on to that, any final thoughts about contracts? Any sort of kind of final tips? Or any suggestions that you're going to give to our viewers today as we wrap up today's show?
I think I've said it once and I'll say it again. Just, you know, make sure that you are comfortable, confident in what you're signing to, because, you know, you've got a 3-year contract now. You want to make sure that you're maximizing your chances of the best possible income that you can have. Dubai is an expensive place, so you want to make sure that you have got the best possible opportunities for you at hand.
And if someone is kind of struggling, or maybe they want a professional, you know, sort of kind of, you know, an impartial opinion, and, you know, they're wondering, okay, look, I want to speak to somebody. What, you know, sort of kind of, how can people, what can people do? Can people reach out to you? What, you know, how can they, you know, what are the different ways, Trisha, that your team and yourself can help?
Absolutely. So definitely, I mean, I'm more than happy to help people. You know, they can book a call with me. That's no problems. However, the UAE labor law, the ministry does offer free advice. So, you know, really from that sound point and that professional opinion, you know, it's from the government entity. They are non-biased. You know, I would really recommend you can walk in there, you can make a phone call. The UAE labor law or the government entities are absolutely supportive. So, of course, depending on the type of level that you would like, you know, and there's lots of freelance HR consultancies or professionals out there that do offer paid services like this. Yeah, you can jump on LinkedIn though. So there's lots of different avenues. Of course, I'm more than happy to support, but if you would like that next level, then definitely the UAE, the Labour Department.
Is a good place to start. And on that note, thank you so much, Trisha. Have you guys all got value from this? I know I've learned a thing or two. I always do when I listen to Trisha. She's always kind of like educating me, dropping those truth bombs so that I'm expanding my knowledge that allows you. And the reason why we do all of this is so that you can make, as a professional job hunter who's motivated, who's driven, who wants to get out in, get out to UAE or already is in UAE and wants to develop their career path, sort of kind of further. It's all about giving you access to the, the path of least resistance. And so the bonus today, Trisha, we've heard some really great news, haven't we? And I know we've both got really excited about this. So shall we drop it now? What is it that's happening in the UAE? And then why is it going to help our viewers? And why is this going to be so powerful and so transformative for job hunters looking for their next job in the UAE?
Absolutely. So I woke up to this news this morning, which is, really fantastic to hear. So the UAE cabinet approves a major overhaul of visa system. So this is directly from the national news of the UAE. I would love to go through this as well in a deep dive. I think it deserves a call on its own entity. But basically, in a nutshell, there are several new benefits. So the new system of entry and residence aims at attracting and retaining global talents within the skilled workforce. So there's new benefits for family members. The parent can now sponsor a male child to the age of 25 years, up from 18. So that's a big jump. Originally 18 years old, now it's up to 25 within the UAE. You now have got the ability to have a 60-day visa rather than initial 30-day visa, and you can have multi-entry tourist visas. So in addition to the regular tourist visa, a 5-year multi-entry tourist visa was introduced. So that means you can come and go, quite frequently, which is fantastic for your job search. And probably the biggest thing, or the add-on, is that the golden visa is now being extended. So you've got golden visas for scientists, for skilled professionals, for exceptional talent, real estate investors, entrepreneurs, lots of different sectors that can now be applied for this golden visa. And finally, there's a green visa for skilled employees and freelancers. So this new track provides a 5-year residency for skilled employees without sponsor or employer. So that's a major change to the visa status. So I would love to walk this. Maybe I'll put together a little bit of a PowerPoint presentation, a deck in comparison, so that then it's easy for people to understand the differences.
Thank you for that, Trisha. Oh my God, yes. So there you have it today. You've just heard some cutting edge information that is just coming hot off the press, literally. The ink hasn't even dried and you're hearing it here today. And this is exactly what we developed this show for, to give you that latest sort of kind of knowledge. So I guess until next time, it's goodbye from me, meets Viha. And by the way, before we do actually say goodbye, before we do say farewell, if any of what you've heard today and it's piqued your interest, or maybe you're thinking, actually, you know what, I need some help with this. I'm looking, it's great that I'm hearing this information, but I want to work with you, with me, or want to work with Trisha. What are the best ways that you can connect with us? For me, it has to be my LinkedIn profile. So head on over there, come and find me. My team and I are passionate about helping job hunters, develop their skills, and learn the techniques and acquire the blueprint, to the path of least resistance, so that you can land your next dream job without the struggle and frustration. And for Trisha, if people are interested and they want to work with you, they want to have you as their career coach, have accountability from you so that they can get to their goals quicker, faster, and with ease, how can they get in touch with you?
Absolutely. Feel free to comment below. I am super active on social media, or again on LinkedIn, and I always put the links to my LinkedIn. And Sabia, once again, we are color coordinated. I don't know how we do this, but
I don't know. We're just on the same wavelength, hon. That's what it is.
Great. Alrighty, everyone. Thank you so much for your attention. I can hear my little one in the background, so time for me to run.
That's a good cue to go. Bye-bye.